Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. I have no idea how my body is functioning right now. It feels like I haven't slept in 6 years. I swear to God, I could fall asleep right now and I would wake up in 3 days. I am in sports fatigue. I am in emotional fatigue. I am in physical fatigue, but we keep grinding. And I won't play superhero on you. I had a difficult time watching that Eagles game on Thursday Night Football up against the Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series. It was on, all right, I had it on the secondary TV, but I couldn't pick it apart the way that I would love to when the Birds were playing. Here's what I do know, though. They are now 8-0 to start the season. They didn't play very well. The tackling was poor. You didn't have Jordan Davis. They were running the ball down your throat at times. But at the end of the day, even though I give it like a C- style of game, what did they do? They went out and won by double digits. Jalen Hurts' completion percentage is at 68%. Dallas Goedert had a hell of a day. And by the way, with his ability to have a good completion percentage, it's not as if he's just kind of throwing 5-yard passes here and there, and he's throwing passes over the middle very, very short. Like, no, this dude is hitting A.J. Brown for long touchdowns. This guy's hitting players running down the field. The jump that we watched Josh Allen take from year 1 to year 2 in his career, we're witnessing it a little bit differently, but a massive jump, a Tyrese Maxey level jump in the quarterback. And that's the difference in consistently being competitive in this league or not. And you got a dude that just constantly leads his team to victory. I was surprised when he put the ball on the carpet and you saw Houston go the other way with it. But then at the same time, while that did occur, how about right before a half, the beauty to get the Eagles into field goal position. Unfortunately, Jake Elliott missed the 54-yard field goal, but it was just the fact they got the team there. It's the leader, baby. It's the leader in Jalen Hurts. Miles Sanders with mean runs. He was running very hard out there, and he seems to be hungry. He seems to want it. He seems to want to get a big-ass payday, too, while he's at it, I'm sure, because let's be honest, there's been a lot of reasonable criticism about Miles Sanders, but I think a healthy version of him, and knowing that he can make a lot of Benjamins, there's some clear motivation happening, and we'll see what that means for the Howie Roseman side of things. And speaking of Howie Roseman, I'm sure you saw the video that was surfacing on Twitter. Someone held a sign up that said A.J. Brown and said, Howie, I will, he said, what was the word he used? Something like, I will forgive you. I will forgive you for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, for Jalen Reagor. And he came over throwing F-bombs out there, which didn't feel organic. It didn't feel natural. I'm not a Howie hater by any means, but dude doesn't have swag. Dude doesn't constantly throw out F-bombs within normal conversation. But Howie walks up to the fan holding the sign, and he goes, I brought you your first fucking Super Bowl. You're going to disrespect me like that? He's dropping the F. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what the hell is going on? This is a dude that's watching an 8-0 football team, and he put it together, and he knows this team is soaring, and this team is soaring high, playing fantastic ball, that he could get away with something like that. I guess there's no argument to be made when you're 8-0 and you just don't lose. You're getting every single team's best shots. You're getting every single team's full-on attention for the week ahead, game planning, putting together the X's and the O's, the strategy. You know, put yourself in whatever sport you played when you were younger, and you're going up against the best team in the league. Think about the way that you process breakfast. Think about the way you process your pregame warm-up with your dynamic warm-up, the music you're playing. And speaking of music, my God, is this new album from Drake and 21 Savage unbelievable. I can't stop playing it. Every song makes me go, what the hell is this? The beat switches. It's crazy. I was bumping the hell out of that thing on both ways to work in 5 minutes before the show to get some juices flowing. Holy hell. This is why when he drops the previous body of work, which is all this dance music, whatever, H&M music, whatever you want to call it, yo, Drizzy, we need you to get in your bag. We need you to spit. Anyway, I digress. I could do that another time. So yeah, anyway, I have a lot of Phillies I want to get to too. So Fletcher Cox looked a bit banged up. Javon Hargrave is ridiculous. Javon Hargrave is coming alive. He's getting to the quarterback. A bunch of sacks over the last 2 weeks. And if you remember, last year to start the season off, my man was on fire. He was getting highlighted nonstop. He was barreling through offensive linemen. He was rushing with intensity. And then he died off a bit and he quieted out. I wonder, is he someone that's going to have these spurts? This is part of the Javon Hargrave experience? We don't know. We don't have enough of a sample size of fully knowing. And yeah, maybe there was some sort of injury that maybe started him off slow and now he's cooking. But damn, Javon Hargrave. I mean, I got a lot of questions about Jonathan Gannon still. But at the end of the day, you got your 2 turnovers. Bradbury with an interception late, even though he got toasted in the first frame for the Houston Texans to take a lead, and Jesus. But there was a lot of long drives by the Eagles, an 18-play drive. They're just doing their thing out there. But Jonathan Gannon still irritates me. C.J. Gardner-Johnson had one over the middle. Made an athletic play to catch the ball. You got your turnovers. And you only allowed, 17 points? I guess you can make the argument with this team missing these type of receivers and how bad they are just in general. The fact that they moved the ball. I don't know why that you're missing the tackles. Is it just personnel-based? You know, they don't have hard-nosed, I'm going to crush you and kill you style of linebackers, I guess. I mean, I guess that's what we're learning, or else we wouldn't be in this predicament. I know some of the secondary pieces aren't monsters either. They're damn good in coverage, but in regards to lower in the shoulder and meeting you, maybe they just don't have that. I know TJ Edwards finishes with a lot of tackles, and at times he does seem to be aggressive, and he does seem to be making plays, and we love Kaiser White. But I wonder, with Tennessee Titans coming up, what's it going to look like against Derrick Henry? Because I think teams have an opening there, especially with the Jordan Davis injury. Good win, though. And I'll leave the Eagles stuff on this note. This whole, once again, the national media saying the Eagles don't play anybody. We know the NFC is weak. We know in the NFL there's not a lot of talented teams this year. With that said, if the Eagles were more in the packs, you wouldn't win 8 games. You'd lose one of these. If they weren't very good, I'm not telling you they're like in this year's season of the NFL, yeah, they're up there. Maybe in other seasons, if there was 7 unbelievable teams, maybe they're not as high, okay? If there's 6 unbelievable teams, maybe, but in this year they are. And you would see them be maybe 6-2 if they weren't as good. They're 8-0. They're 8-0. And when they're not playing good, they're winning by double digits. Even though the game was tied at half because you missed the field goal and Texans did score, did it ever really feel like they were going to lose? No, they get separation. Sanders scores. You know, you get your touchdowns. You get Sanders running the football. I am enjoying this brand of the Eagles, though. And this brand of Miles Sanders. What did Goedert finish with passing yards-wise? 100 yards, right on the dot. 1 tutty. Sanders, 93 yards, a tutty. Hurts, 243 yards passing, 21 of 27, 2 tutties. And watching him and Jason Kelce sing along to the fight song, to the crowd, on the road, that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. All right. That's what we have on the Eagles front. Let's get to the Phils. All right, apparently Wheeler had a good bullpen, but we're also hearing that Rob Thompson will go to Ranger if needed. Does that seem like something that's not really adding up? By the way, also, Zach Wheeler mentioned that he doesn't even know what he's going to be able to do either. Like, hey, you know, we'll see. We're going out there, and I'm giving you everything I got, but we'll find out which Zach Wheeler it is. That's a bit concerning. I just want to get to game 7 at this point, and then I'll live with the consequences, the emotional damage that happens if they lose. I'll live with it, especially now hearing that maybe it's Aaron Nola on short rest. If they go to Aaron Nola, I'm going to be pretty disappointed, even though that's Rob. I'm joking and I'm not joking, but in full honesty, I would go to Kyle Gibson to start the game, see if you can get 2 innings out of him, and then go from there. You know, based off of what you use in game 6, if you need to go to Ranger, let's say Wheeler maybe can't give you the distance before the fatigue is there and the dead arm is there. But what if he gives you 3 innings of 0 earned run ball, and then he gets 2 guys on, but there's 2 out, and then you go to Ranger for a bit more length to maybe get to the 6th inning, something along those lines. You got to get the game 7. I can't be thinking about the game 7 starter before you even get there. So from Rob's perspective, yeah, you got to unload the clip at this specific game and see what you have to do. So it's possible that Wheeler can't go 6, can't go 5. Hell, in the playoffs, going 6 is actually insane. If he's healthy and he can go 6, I'd be thrilled. That's kind of where guys are landing. So let's say he gives you 4 2/3 of 0 earned runs, 5 innings pitched 0. I mean, then we're here, baby. But I do have some nerves because let's be honest, they jumped all over his stuff early on last time. I'm sure that's in his head. So there's 2 ways to look at this. Either he's going to be all mentally out of whack before he starts because he's overthinking that side of it, knowing that he's not 100%. If you favor things, what do people tell you in sports all the time? The more you're afraid to get hit, the more you're afraid to get hurt, you probably get hurt. So the more you're afraid that you're going to get attacked, and the more that you're afraid to throw similar pitches because you miss your spots and your location isn't there, and Altuve maybe rips one early, Yordan Alvarez, you name it, maybe that happens because that's all you're processing as you're throwing. Look, I think that Zach Wheeler, knowing the competitor that he is, he's going to leave everything out there. It's not going to be due to a lack of talent and a lack of ability. It just might be the lack of being healthy at this time of the year, which is unfortunate, but they pushed him back 2 days for a reason. It's 2-2. You're at home. It's game 5. Your ace isn't going, right? I mean, seriously. So, I don't know. I mean, if you're Rob, you got to have a quick hook on everybody. All your players need to want the ball. I'm just begging and hoping that we get a game 7. But Wheeler not knowing who he is, they say he has a good bullpen, but what's it look like after that good bullpen? Is it a good bullpen and then his arm feels great? Or is it a good bullpen and he doesn't look good? And there's a lot in adrenaline. Adrenaline is a powerful drug. But he didn't start off the 98-99 in the last outing. So I want to know, is he going to have some burst behind that fastball? Is it going to be zipping through the zone? And located properly too? But is it sitting 98 or are we back to 96, 95? And if it is sitting 98, how quick does it go before you're looking at the gun and it's 96? Is it just because of adrenaline? Is it because his body's breaking down and you just got a short amount of time? I don't know. These are all questions that I'm going to be looking for the answers as the game plays out. What should Rob Thompson do with the lineup? Valdez with the lefty. We've been debating this all day long. Here's what I'm doing. I'm going out with my top guys. All right, I know everyone wants to get Castellanos out of the lineup. I was hearing today, throw Nick Maton in there. Take out Castellanos. Well, Nick Maton's a lefty, so at this point, maybe it's Matt Vierling. You take him out. You put him in and you take Castellanos out. We had one individual bring up that Garrett Stubbs should play first base and you should bench Rhys Hoskins. What? You're telling me you're living and dying with Garrett Stubbs over at first? I know Rhys Hoskins pisses us off, but you also don't get that game against the Atlanta Braves with the bat spike if he's not there. Just because potentially, even if the percentage is 2%, that he can go yard right now. And I feel better about Rhys than Nick Castellanos. At least Rhys, we've seen it recently. It's been quieter, but it's still been more recently than August 27th, which is Nick Castellanos. I'm going Kyle Schwarber, Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper batting 3. Keep in mind, Valdez the lefty. I'm going JT batting 4th. Bohm batting 5th, Castellanos batting 6th. I'm keeping Stott in at 7. Once again, keeping Stott in. I'm not going down in Game 6 of the World Series. And by the way, after that would be Segura in 8th and Marsh in 9th. I can live with Matt Vierling in 9 because he hits in his career 300 against lefties. So that's something they're going to value, compared to somewhere in between 220, 230-ish for Brandon Marsh, and it's not a matchup I love. But in all honesty, I still would rock Stott. I still would rock Marsh and just run out and say, Marsh is going to be your everyday center fielder. Yeah, he's your center fielder of the future. Bryson Stott is an infielder of yours, whether it's second base if Segura moves, whatever they do, if they go out and get Trey Turner, Dansby Swanson, Bogarts, whatever guy they're looking for. I want the guys that are going to be here to play. Now, Mundo Sosa's a role guy, defensive replacement, utility throughout the regular season. Game 6 of the World Series, I don't want to live and die with Stott on the bench. I don't want to live and die with role players and utility guys being in your starting lineup. That's just not how I want to do it. So I'll take my chances with Marsh and Stott, but I demand Stott in there, and I'm fascinated to see what the manager does because the last time it was Sosa and Vierling. The thing that Stott can do is if Valdez is grinding you, or maybe not, maybe that's not the right word, but if he's killing you and he's doing a fantastic job, can Bryson Stott work a 10, 12 pitch AB, and now one of his innings, the pitch count goes up to 26 or 25 because Bryson Stott is the one grinding down Valdez. I'll take that over potentially whatever Edmundo Sosa can give you, and Stott's played a fine glove. Stott's played a great defense. I know Marsh has had his hiccups, but once again, he's your everyday guy. You made that trade not just for now, but for the future. And I want to go down with my guys. That's why I'm keeping Castellanos, keeping Reese. Now, Reese might have costed himself. I keep flip-flopping back and forth between Middleton's going to pay him. Middleton has that connection with him, that relationship with him. But then when he flops like this, there's really so many arguments to be made. But normally, whenever this happens, we see a Rhys Hoskins explosion. Is it going to happen against Valdez? That's where the question becomes. I saw someone tweet at me an interesting lineup because today on Twitter, you can follow me, by the way, at Broads81 or at Broads Media on Twitter. I appreciate that very much. What would you do with your lineup? And someone mentioned Schwarber, Reese, Bohm at 3, Bryce at 4. I want to put him up so we can get more ABs. But JT at 5. Who else was it? Because I think they got it to where Castellanos was batting 7th. So actually, I kind of want to pull this back up. They actually recently tweeted me it. So I want to see if it's there. Man, where was it? Oh, man, I apologize. I'm pretty sure he got Castellanos to 7th. And I'm sure I can just do this myself if I wasn't so lazy and figure out who I'm missing here. Oh, I think they put Gene up there. They put Gene after JT. Let me see if I can write that out to where it makes sense. The Schwarber at 1, Reese at 2, Bohm hitting 3rd, Bryce as your 4-hole, 5 was JT, 6 was Gene, 7 was Casty, 8 Stott, 9 Vierling, I think it was, because if you went with Marsh, it would have been Stott, Marsh, Kyle, 3 lefties in a row. So they tried to put Vierling in there to break it up a bit. I mean, just something I didn't think about was Bohm up there at 3. I guess I just want to see Bryce get as more at-bats as humanly possible before we kind of look in a different direction. So, I don't know. But I know Rhys Hoskins struck out way too much. I know Castellanos' at-bats are poor, even though he did look a bit better. It's as simple as this, because both teams sucked in Game 5 when getting the timely hit necessary. Trey Mancini, Pena, McCormick. Think about the jobs they did in the defensive side. Rhys Hoskins, Marsh. Think about what they did on the defensive side. There's your ball game. Before we get to the phones, here's the one thing I'm aggravated with the most today. The amount of importance that was put on Brandon Marsh bunting in the 8th inning, I'm over it. I think it's a dumb conversation. If they did it, fine. I would not have argued. I would not have complained. I would not have been bothered by it. If he bunted and tried a suicide squeeze to get someone in a suicide bunt, fine. Seriously, I'm not mad at all. You wouldn't hear me bitch for 1 second. At the same time, you wouldn't hear me bitch for 1 second if he didn't either. What did we make fun of the Padres for with Grisham? We were kind of like, you gave up an out in the 9th inning to bunt because you're that bad, because you're that desperate, because you feel that you have no hope with your batter in the box. That's sad. That's embarrassing. We mocked the Padres for doing it. What it reeks to me is just a huge, huge sign of desperation. And while you are desperate to get a run scored at that particular time in the game, there are other ways to do it. Marsh has been hitting home runs in the playoffs and been an unlikely hero multiple times. Not that that he was going to hit a home run, but come on. You can't just say he wouldn't get a hit at all. I mean, I'm not telling you I'd put $1 billion on it, but between him and Schwarber to have 2 shots at it swinging the bat, I'll take that. With how this entire game played out, if that's what you're focusing on the most and not JT and Reese having a combined, 7 strikeouts between the two? And Castellanos not producing when Bryce Harper was on base 4 times. 4 times. He had the 2-out double. He walked a couple times and got hit by a pitch. And you get pitched differently not only because of who's behind you, but if guys can get on base like Reese and JT, think about it. There's traffic. You don't want to have someone on first base now get moved over to scoring position because you walked Bryce. This stuff all matters. So that's where you got to target. That's what you got to focus on first. The Marsh thing, I think you're picking at something. You're 9-hole hitter, not bunting. Let's just put it in perspective here. If that's where you think the big conversation is, the 9th hitter for not suicide squeeze bunting to tie the game, if we're ever discussing that, there's a lot more that probably need to be criticized way before it. So I just don't like it personally. All right, so let's go to the phones. Some reaction from Game 5 and where we're at with this team and the confidence level of moving forward.
I mean, I'm at a loss for words. What is Rhys Hoskins doing? Bases loaded, and you swing early on all-speed pitches multiple times when Justin Verlander had 0 command on his fastball? What are you looking for? Not only that, he swung at an all-speed pitch, the first pitch, when the 2 batters before him got walked in 5 pitches each. You have to take the first pitch, and you have to know it's a slider. And in the 8th inning, you can't throw the ground ball? What are you doing? A high schooler could throw that ground ball. And then JT Realmuto, he struck out 3 times. Reese struck out 4 times on 0-5 at the plate. What are we doing? The pitching bailed you out continuously. Houston made mistakes which continuously bail you out, and you still couldn't win the game. Phillies don't deserve to win the World Series. GG, Houston. They're clearly the better team, and they deserve it way more. Phillies didn't want it enough tonight. They just didn't want it enough.
It's not. I mean, come on. You don't think the team wanted it? Did I hear that correctly? You said the team didn't want it enough? Come on. Now, going back to that, you also said that why would Reese look like you had to know the slider was coming. Why did you have to know the slider was coming? Isn't that what makes this game crazy? You go back to those walks with Marsh. Well, actually, there was a single before the walk. That was just a 4-seamer that he swung on the first pitch to single. But you had a curveball on the outside part of the plate. On the inside part of the plate, as Marsh is a lefty. A 4-seamer that was high. The foul ball, it was 5 pitches, 1 curve, 4 4-seamers. And then you get to Schwarber, 4 curves and 1 4-seamer. Then he starts throwing the slider. So there wasn't one slider thrown in not one at-bat in that inning. Not one at-bat in the second inning was thrown before the slider to Rhys Hoskins. And I thought the first slider that was on the outside of the plate, and it was a tad bit outside, but I thought that was actually a gross pitch. We go, hey, you just got to tip your cap. From there was another slider that was more on the plate, but still on the outside corner. I think what he should have done was hit the slider that struck him out. That's the one where it was prime. That's the one where it was all money that he could have demolished. But before the first couple of pitches, I kind of had a little bit of a debate with that earlier on the show today with Ricky Bell. I'm like, yeah, I thought that first pitch was just a nasty pitch. It looked like it was going to be on the plane of a strike, and then it broke. And that's what happens. But I didn't think that being an easy one. Like, that's not you have to expect it. Why? Why couldn't it have been a fastball? Why couldn't it have been a curveball? Why did it have to be slider? It's Justin Verlander. What's he known for? If that fastball goes up in the zone, that's a thing. I'm mad at the strike 3 swing. That's the one. That's the one. That's the pitch. Crazy. It's crazy that we're here. But yeah, you're right. The defensive issues aren't going anywhere, though. That's always been a part of him. That's always been a part of the conversation. Let's take another.
Well, an agonizing defeat tonight, and it really feels like the Phillies let this one slip. The bullpen game, they only gave up 3 runs. Really a spectacular performance by everyone involved. And we just couldn't hit with runners in scoring position. And, I mean, Bryce Harper did his part. I mean, the guy reached base all but one at bat. And guess what? Nick Pivetta was my least favorite Philly for a while. Another Nick Castellanos, taking his place. I despise this dude. This guy, oh my God. I guess we'll have to enjoy him for 4 more years and $20 million per year. Well, back's against the wall now. So proud of this team for everything they've done this year. I still think we have a shot.
I do too. I actually do feel a lot better than I did after the game was over. I was so demoralized. I really was. I was seriously in some pain and numb because I just thought, oh my God, we were up 2-1 with 2 home games at Citizens Bank Park, and in one of those games you get no hit. Now, something that I keep getting asked is, Broads, how do you see this team scoring offensively? Well, let me be honest. They hit 5 home runs the game before they got no hit. Would you be surprised if they hit 3 home runs in Houston and they score 6 runs? Like, this team is very inconsistent, but when they do have a game where they're doing their thing, it's a lot different. Well, Valdez got their number last time. Does that mean it continues? Or maybe they figured something out and it's like, hey, we just saw him recently. We've seen him and we saw what he could do with the breaking pitch. Like, let's see. Maybe there's just more mistakes. Let's say Valdez, even though there's probably some sticky stuff involved, maybe the location isn't the same and the crispness isn't insane and the mistake isn't, as sharp, and you start making mistakes and there's a breaking ball that is left over the heart of the plate and a right-handed batter works his magic. I'm with you with Nick Castellanos, though. The at-bats aren't even professional. They are disgusting. It feels like someone who was playing during the era after the 2008 run, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, after those teams, and we were stuck with the Odubles of the world and just nonsense and trash. It seems like if you replace Nick Castellanos' name with one random-ass name of a guy that we saw a month of or 2 months of or 3 months of or 4 months of during that time, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think we're stuck with him, though. I think Dave gives him a chance next year to show that this isn't really him. Is it? I don't know. It's hard for me to think it is because 30-plus bombs that he hit last year definitely stood out to me because it's not like his other numbers, but neither is 13. So I think last year he had a career year. He cashed in on it, and this year he's having the worst year of his career. Could he be a 23? Could he be a 23, 24 home run guy? More of that? That's literally 11 more home runs than what he's given us this season, which is major. I couldn't even tell you the last time he was even close to getting a home run. Maybe he's more of a 25 guy, which in this lineup, if Schwarber's 40 plus, if Bryce is healthy for a full season, can't wait to finally see him in the field too. And then that would open up spots for Castellanos to just DH, even though I think this is more than just I got to play the field issue every day. What cracks me the hell up, too, is Nick Castellanos publicly admitted over the last couple of days or whatever, maybe it was a week ago or so, that it's hard for him to focus in the regular season. This postseason stuff is just a different type of beast for him, so it's easier for him to engage out in right field. Dude, any real right fielder wouldn't have to slide to make some of the grabs that you made. And also, who are you? You're not some postseason star. Okay, if you made the postseason every year, and for 6 years to start your career, your regular season was a 250 guy, but when the postseason came around, you were 282. This isn't Justin Williams in the NHL scoring all the time in big spots, Mr. Game 7, Danny Briere. That's not what this is, dude. You have no track record of real postseason, but legitimately long stretches of legit damage. Come on, who are you? As if you're some guru in October every year. Just cracks me up. I don't get it. So, all right, everyone, that's kind of my thoughts here on the Eagles 8-0, on the Phils heading into Game 6. I'm destroyed physically. I'll tell you what, I am beaten down by this every night. Games, 8 o'clock, 4 hours long, TV broadcast long, recording, radio show. Whew, the Friday without the game is a little bit of a sigh of relief. I think I needed it just as much as the players. But we're right back at it. And what I expect to happen, I expect them maybe even have to use Ranger 2, which would be worst case scenario. But I think they pull out Game 6. And then Game 7, we'll see. We'll talk about that later. But I do think they get to Game 7. I do. This team is bringing us on one hell of a season. It would only make sense. It would only make sense. Thank you guys so much. You're the best. Catch you guys tomorrow.